Welcome, everyone, to the Friday edition. This is February the 11th. We're 2 days away from the Super Bowl, but we're here to bring you the NBA Triple Double Show powered by the Predictive Playbook and presented by SportsMemo TV. I'm your host, John Ryan, and as always, my co-host and good friend and professional sports bettor, Ronald Cabang, is in the house, and we have a lot to talk about today. And the first thing we are going to talk about are the big trades, the Blockbuster trade that everybody's talking about with Ben Simmons finally kind of getting out of his situation in Philadelphia and moving up the turnpike, literally in New Jersey, to the Brooklyn Nets. And James Harden going the other direction, going southwest towards Philadelphia down I-95. And, it's amazing that it happened. I think, personally, Ronald, I haven't had a chance to get your thoughts on this, but I think the Nets came out of this like they had gotten the golden goose. They have no risk at all with Simmons, and they, at very least, will have one of the best defenders on the perimeter who can defend any player, 1 through 4. We saw him shut down Giannis last year in one of Giannis's worst games of his career. And guess who was covering him? Ben Simmons. So, and I like what KD did too, was saying, well, this is great that he's elated and he wants to be a net. We want people that want to be part of this. Yeah. And what our plan is. And I thought that was really good. And that should help the mental process of Simmons now transitioning to actually being on the court. Yeah. What did you think overall of the trade?
Yeah, no, I don't know if you watched the All-Star draft yesterday, and Durant mentioned, everyone pretty much got what they want. Everyone got what they wanted, right? So I think both teams are going to be happy with it. I think one thing that we need to think about, though, is the Sixers also got rid of Seth Curry, right? Seth Curry was part of the trade. And I think he was a well-liked player. And obviously he has relationship with the coach, personal relationship with the coach. So I don't know how that affects the team morale and things like that. But as far as the bigger name players, Simmons and James Harden, I think they both kind of got what they wanted. So I think both teams get maybe a little bit better here. I think, like you said, the Nets get the bigger piece of it. They improve a lot more than the Sixers did because they just lost. I think Seth Curry is a pretty good defender as well.
Yep.
But so they
and a pretty good shooter.
Yeah, and so obviously Harden's going to bring the offense here. He may maybe start as the point guard, and Maxey move over to shooting guard. I think the thing here another thing to think about is James Harden. He plays well when he has like a more of an athletic center, someone that he could kind of either, when he takes it into the paint, he usually, goes in for a floater or he lobs it over to a super athletic center. And Joel Embiid, obviously he can do that, but he's not as athletic like a Capella or a Claxton that he's used to. And also, Embiid also can play the post game as a solo player. He takes guys one-on-one and that kind of mixes up James Harden's game. So I'd like to see how, that offense flows before I start betting against or on them.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest question mark I have actually is the third player that was involved. Drummond is gone now. And he was a tremendous backup basically since the turn of the calendar, January 1st till now. And he had some just really, really strong games. One game he had 24 rebounds in a Sixers win that Embiid did not play.
Yep, I remember that game.
So and that was the game they beat Memphis without Embiid on the court. So I don't know how that's going to work. Like who's going to play that 5 position or even the power forward when Embiid's on the bench resting? Do they rotate? Does Harden play more minutes during one shift than another? It's a mystery, and I think I heard Charles Barkley say they're going to have to figure it out on the fly, but they're going to have to figure it out pretty darn quick. He didn't say darn. He used a different word, but darn quick, and he's right because Harden is 33. There's 2 years left. An extension, he could be making $62 million when he's 38 years old. And the time now for Philly to win is now. But we look at the futures odds, and I took the screenshot from BetMGM for us to look at. And you can see that and I was pretty surprised that the Nets moved that much.
Mhm.
In fact, I actually had an expectation that maybe they were going to go up, and less of a favorite.
Yeah.
But they're plus 450 at MGM. I saw DraftKings yesterday at plus 380. I don't know where they are now, but it's the Nets and Warriors, Suns all at 450 as you can see. The Sixers at plus 700 just seem to be like a great value. I wouldn't bet futures now anymore. But there's a lot of different ways you can play it without tying your money up for the next 4 months. But it is puzzling, and the media seems to think that the Sixers are now the best team in the East, but it's not reflected in these futures odds. So the question for you, Ronald, is do you see a team that doesn't have to be the Sixers or the Nets in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference after all these trades that has a chance to take down the title?
Yeah, I think it's right now, to me, I think the Heat, who really, I don't think they even, did they make a move like yesterday? I think they made a small move. But I think them, as far as like continuity, roster continuity and chemistry right now, I think they're one of the teams to really take a look at. Nets got to figure it out with Ben Simmons. I think they really did get a lot better. It moves Kyrie to his more natural position, but they're still dealing with a lot of injuries. I think when Joe Harris comes back and KD comes back, I think that's going to be a really tough squad right there. But right now, I think Heat has the most value when you look at those futures odds.
Yeah, and I agree. Pizza money bet if you're a Lakers fan at 30-1. I mean, why not, right? Maybe take the Western Conference if they get healthy and get their act together. I know they were trying to make a move, I guess, for Lillard, and that never came to pass, obviously. But let's move on to the first game here, and that is going to be the Sixers. We're talking about the first night. We don't know yet officially whether Harden is in the lineup, but I would think he would have to be. Mm-hmm. Philly fans aren't going to be too patient with this. They want to see this, and they want to see it rock and roll starting tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So let's see. The bets are wildly in favor of Philadelphia right now. 72% of the bets are on Philly, 28% on Oklahoma City. Philly opened as a 12-point home favorite. They're now 13, and I think it's just going to keep going higher. I leaned initially the Thunder here, Ronald, because it's going to take some time for Harden and Embiid to get used to that two-man game. And I agree 100% with you as we move forward with the Sixers. When we start seeing them get used to get that chemistry, because any team that tries to double team Harden, that means somebody's open and unguarded. And, the nightmare situation is if Embiid is the one that's open, and vice versa. You double team Embiid. He's a very good passer of the ball, and he's unselfish. I don't think he's going to worry about his points per game nearly as much as James Harden would worry about his productivity. But I do think it's going to work, and I think it's going to work in Brooklyn too. What do you see in this matchup?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree with you on the Thunder here as sort of the lean here, especially in the first half. The Thunder, they are shorthanded. They're missing a bunch of players, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have lost 3 in a row by double digits. And schedule-wise, it is against them too. They're on the first game of a 3-game road trip, first game of back-to-back games. But they've been a strong against the spread team the whole season. Most angles you look at with the Thunder, they're pretty much they've been pretty much profitable against the spread. And obviously on the Sixers side, they have the trade. I did right before this, I did see that Harden is unlikely to debut today for the Sixers, so he's going to be out. Maxey and Shake Milton are both game time decisions, so the guard position there in Philly might be a little short. So we'll see how that goes. But they're coming off a loss to the Suns, and they're on the first game of back-to-back games as well. The Sixers, they're just not as strong as double-digit favorites. They're 2-5 against the spread as double-digit favorites at home. Their average first-half margin is actually minus 1.4, which is surprising to me as a double-digit favorite. Then they sort of take over in the second half. I think the margin there is about plus 7 or 7 or 8. And I think an early look on the Thunder might be a good look, and then a live number on the Sixers later on in the game. You could probably get like a -5, -6 type of line.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. So if you like the Sixers, I wouldn't even bet the game pre-flop. I would just wait till the game starts and look for that 5.5. I like that almost as a potential best bet for the show. That's really good. Oklahoma City is 18-4 against the spread this season when facing offensive teams that are scoring 108 or fewer points per game. That's absolutely amazing. I mean, that's stunning. Their straight up record is terrible, but they have situations where they excel for whatever reason it is, and this is one of them tonight. So, I lean, if I had to bet the game pre-flop, I lean a little bit to the Thunder because I just think it's too many points, like you think as well. All right, enough about the Sixers and the Nets. Let's move on to the next game here, which is the Orlando Magic are traveling to the Utah Jazz, 9 o'clock p.m. Let's see another double-digit dog here that has 77% of the bets on it. 13.5 points is the Utah Jazz as a home favorite. Orlando Magic, they're getting 23% of the love. That's not very much. The over-under is 222. The Jazz just have not been good profit makers for those bettors that have been backing them this season. They're 11-17 with one push in their 29 home games. Conversely, neither is Orlando in road games. They are, a modest positive record. Actually, I mistakenly, I thought it was a 16. They're actually 18-13 on the road against the spread. So you have two contrasting records here. Would you be tempted to take the double digits in this matchup?
Yeah, I think so. The Jazz have not been great as double-digit favorites this season. They're 3-13 against the spread in those situations, and the average margin is about 7 points. I think they even lost a few games as double-digit favorites this season already, including some at home. The Magic, they're coming off a rare win though, and they're 4-8 against the spread following a win. Travel-wise, they're on the first game of back-to-back road games. And then Mo Wagner and RJ Hampton are out, and Suggs is a game time decision. We don't know if he's going to play. I think the big thing here is Gobert, and is Gobert going to play, because he's a game time decision. And if he does play, you could even maybe see the line move a little bit further up and get some more value there on the Magic side. Same thing with the Sixers here. Favorites have been killing it maybe the last 5-6 days now. I think it's time that the books have adjusted, and that's why we're seeing these huge double-digit lines right now. So it might be time to look at the dogs. So for me, the Magic is the lean here.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. Utah is just 5-12 against the number as a favorite of double digits or more this season. As I think you mentioned that already. Utah is 2-10 against the number in home games after they have won 4 or 5 of the last 6 games. So it sounds like those angles are suggesting that there's a little regression going on here with Utah, and they better pay attention. Orlando is going to give them quite the game. All right, let's move on to our third and final game, and that is an important one too for the Eastern Conference. This is the Denver Nuggets traveling to the Boston Garden to take on those Celtics. Betting action has been even with 51% on Boston, 49% on Denver. The line for this game opened at 5.5, with Celtics being favored. It's now 6. The over/under opened at 217, now 218.5, and looks about ready to steam, maybe getting through that 220-point level. What do you think in this matchup, Ronald?
Both of these teams are playing really well right now. Nuggets are coming off 2 straight double-digit wins, and Celtics are coming out of this on a 6-game winning streak. Nuggets are on the first game of back-to-back road games. Celtics have a day of rest until their next game. So off the bat, there's a slight edge there to the Celtics. One trend that I've been following this whole season is teams who have a rest day before their next game versus teams who don't. So basically playing against a team who's on the first game of back-to-backs, they're covering nearly 57% of the time this season. So that's a blind profit sort of a trend right there. With that said, I think the line here is pretty tight. So I agree with the split in percentages that you just mentioned. I kind of like the under here, though. I think even though the Nuggets have been a highly efficient offense, both the Nuggets and Celtics play a bottom 10 pace, and the Celtics, they're the number one rated defense in the league the last 10 games by nearly 8 points. I think it's about 93 or 94 defensive rating in the last 10 games. So that's a really low defensive rating. They just put a lot of things together since maybe a third of the way in the season. Their defenses just have been really great. I like the under here. Celtics don't see a lot of totals this high, the 218, and if it goes even further up, even better, because they're 7-1 to the under at home when the total is greater than 217. To me, I like the under here.
Yeah, and I do too. And there's a lot of contrarian type of trends that support the under. Denver is a defensive team that's allowing 46% or better or higher shooting on the season. And looking at the database here, we know that Boston is 8-1 under this season, facing defensive teams allowing 46% shooting or higher. And that's pretty amazing, actually, 8-1. They're 36-21 to the under, facing a defensive team allowing 46% or worse shooting over the last 3 seasons. So there's a trend that's been in place here for 3 seasons, and it is contrarian because you would think that, poor defense, got to think over. Mm-hmm. But many times the opposite becomes true when you look at the trends. Good stuff, Ronald. Now it's time for our show best bet. I'm thinking here, my mind's spinning like crazy.
Yeah.
Because, that's what we do. We break down the games and we kind of show the process of how we come up with these things. But I like that Sixer bet, looking at 5.5 live in-game. And I do like the under here in the Denver-Boston game. So I'll give out those two.
Yeah, for me, I do like that the Boston under here. I think I'm gonna wait a little bit to place a bet on it. I do think it's gonna continue to go up here just because Denver's offense is strong. But I think in general, if we can get like 220, I would definitely go take the under there.
Yeah, I think patience is a virtue for sure in that matchup. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to 220 and a half, 221. So, again, it might be a situation where you can scale in your bet. You keep an eye on it and 50% at that 220 level that Ronald's recommending. And then if it goes higher, add 25% more, higher still, 25% more, and you're better off. That's a great strategy. Well, it brings us to the end of the show, Ronald, where we got the Super Bowl on Sunday. And I've been doing so many shows. I feel like it's been a month this week, but it's been a lot of fun. Just an absolute lot of fun. I'm sure you can relate to that as well. Mm-hmm. So thanks again for being on the show. Thanks to everyone out there watching these shows and giving us the love that we like to see. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified of all the shows on SportsMemo TV, because we're one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in sports betting right now. So it's worthwhile to do that. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys on Monday for the next edition of the NBA Triple Double. And until then, remember, especially on Super Bowl Sunday, bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours.